When Sarah was born, her parents Matthew and Anna never dreamt her life would be this hard. Sarah suffers from a mysterious combined immunodeficiency that has forced her to live in an airtight, sealed capsule placed in a high-rise building opposite Matthew's house. Anna lives with her daughter so she can better care for her. Matthew believes Sarah doesn't deserve to live trapped in a capsule, so instead of going to Marseille for a job interview, he goes to Canada, desperately looking for a cure. He shares information about a breakthrough discovery made in Canada that could allow children like Sarah to live in the open. However, Anna is not so keen until she sees solid proof that her daughter can be safe outside her protective capsule. Annoyed, Matthew leaves. Like Sarah, there are other children who suffer from the same disease and are entrapped in a hermetic capsule. They keep each other company via video chat. A while later, a high-intensity earthquake hits Paris and leads to a power cut. Sarah's capsule switches to battery mode. Matthew hurries to Anna's place but finds that the situation is more critical than he initially thought. The tremors have led to the release of deadly gas from the ground, quickly spreading through the streets. The gas is so poisonous that any human enveloped in inhaling this gas is dying. Matthew runs to Anna's house, and after activating the automatic filter function on Sarah's capsule, he takes Anna to search for a safe place. He promises to be back for Sarah. They rush upstairs to take refuge on the top floor, which is their neighbor Lucien and Colette's apartment, as the gas makes its way inside the building. Fortunately, the gas seems heavier than air as it settles near the ground, and the apartment stays above the toxic mist. Poor Lucien and Colette keep asking what is happening but get ignored. Finally, to answer their question, Matthew and Anna take them to their balcony to show them that their entire neighborhood is flooded with mist. Meanwhile, Sarah is trapped in her capsule in her flat, filled with mist, alone, scared, and with limited battery power to filter the air in the capsule. To get an idea of how bad the situation is, Matthew climbs the roof and finds the entire city covered in the mist, which seems stagnant and no help seems to be coming. Worried for his daughter, Matthew plans to bring Sarah essential supplies, but that would be impossible to do with reinforcement. He remembers his neighbor from downstairs uses oxygen, so he plans to retrieve it first. He holds his breath and climbs down the pole to enter his neighbor's apartment, where he finds the neighbor dead. He swiftly moves to find the oxygen cylinder as time starts running out, and in the nick of the moment he finds one. He packs the cylinder in a bag to carry on his back and is about to leave the apartment to check on Sarah when he hears a noise from the other room. He sees a shadow moving and prepares himself to take down whatever it is. He opens the door and a puppy runs out of the room, baffling him that it survived the mist. However, its mom, the larger dog, didn't make it. Matthew makes it to the apartment and provides Sarah with food, water, and radio batteries. He also plugs an extra battery into the capsule and reluctantly departs. Instead of going back, Matthew rushes downstairs to check the situation. He ventures onto a street with corpses everywhere, but soon encounters some soldiers guiding the survivors wearing masks to Montmartre, which is above the mist. One of the soldiers gives Matthew a mask to wear and asks him to follow them. But Matthew is unwilling to leave his family behind. The soldier tries to convince him and says they might not come back this way, but seeing Matthew being adamant, he starts leaving. Matthew stops him to ask if he can get an extra mask for Sarah. Matthew returns with all the essential things he could gather. Later that night, Matthew walks outside the apartment and notices the mist is rising. Matthew paints a gruesome picture of how the mist has affected the people in Paris. With almost 2/3 of Paris's population dead, no public service will be able to function. The next morning, they hear noise, and after climbing the roof, Anna and Matthew witness riots erupting between the survivors at Montmartre. With all the higher places packed, Anna suggests they go to Charlotte, Sarah's friend's place at Morven Hills. Charlotte has the same disease as Sarah, and Anna is sure they will be welcomed there and Sarah can share Charlotte's bubble. Matthew agrees, but they must first retrieve the protective suit from the laboratory in central Paris. Anna tags along and they see Sarah before leaving. Sarah pleads with them to check on No, her friend who has the same condition as her, and after much convincing they agree. They reach the street where No lives, but they get chased by a German shepherd. The two run and Matthew gets separated from Anna when he falls into the Seine River. Anna gets chased by the dog, but its leash gets stuck and Anna is able to escape. She wastes no time and heads towards the lab. Meanwhile, Matthew somehow manages to pull himself out of the river and replaces his wet clothes with a dead man's clothes. The two reunite near the lab. They soon retrieve the suit from the lab, and as they make their way out, they get caught in an explosion. It destroys Matthew's oxygen mask, and the two are forced to share Anna's oxygen mask till they make it to the nearest building with an office above the fog. Anna attends to Matthew's wounds before they can move again, but they realize Anna's oxygen cylinder is almost empty. It will not suffice for both of them. So they decide that Anna will go alone with the suit while Matthew will try using the rooftop route, which will require serious athletic skills. Nevertheless, he tries. Meanwhile, Anna almost runs out of oxygen, but she makes it to the apartment. So she removes her mask before climbing the stairs with a heavy suitcase like a true genius and exhausts herself by the time she reaches the top floor. Only when she gets inside the apartment does she notice the side of the suitcase is completely destroyed because of the explosion and the suit is burned. All that effort for nothing. While returning, Matthew finds a huge rooftop parking with bags full of supplies huddled together near a dead body that looks like someone dragged it. He makes his way inside to find more supplies and an oxygen tank. Matthew takes the oxygen mask and is about to leave when a cop shows up with more supplies. The cop warns him to give the mask back. He reaches for his gun, so Matthew does what he has to do. He wears the mask before lunging on the cop. They fall into the mist one floor below, and after a little struggle, the cop dies after inhaling the toxic mist. Matthew flees, but keeps the gun just in case. Back home, Anna gets a notification on her phone about Sarah's capsule being low on battery. So after wasting a few more minutes talking about love with Sarah on the walkie-talkie, Anna finally rushes downstairs when the app beeps in desperation, indicating only 2% battery left. She quickly replaces the battery and leaves. Matthew makes it back to the apartment but finds Anna's lifeless body lying on the stairs. A little later, another earthquake hits Paris and the mist starts rising and entering the apartment. Matthew gears up again with the oxygen mask to retrieve an army suit he saw in a truck on his way. He plans to adapt it for Sarah. He also ensures Lucien that he'll find oxygen masks for him and his wife, but Lucien says he shouldn't be bothered by them as they plan to end it for themselves in their house with each other. Matthew has no words to say except thank you before he leaves. Lucien makes Colette lie on the bed and he lies beside her as the mist seeps into their apartment. They wait there, ready to embrace death. Matthew goes to meet Sarah before venturing out, but Sarah doesn't want him to leave her. She blames herself for Anna's passing, but Matthew assures her she is in no way responsible. It was just an unfortunate accident. He promises to return and soon leaves. Matthew finds the truck and retrieves the suit. While running back, he finds a scooter and decides to use that instead of running to save oxygen. He's riding back when he almost hits a boy in the street, causing him to take a sharp turn to prevent the accident. The impact sends Matthew flying and he hits his head, which renders him unconscious. Matthew soon gains consciousness. He picks up the suit and starts limping back when he sees Sarah approach him with the same boy he was about to hit. The boy turns out to be No. Sarah and No both suffer from the same condition, but surprisingly, the fog seems to have no effect on them. Realizing this, Matthew hugs his daughter and cries. Matthew wakes up from a dream where Sarah runs free with her friends. He is inside Sarah's bubble. He picks up the walkie-talkie and calls for her. She answers and says, "Coming, Dad." The roles have now changed. Sarah is taking care of Matthew. And Matthew's dream of seeing his daughter free finally comes true. That's a wrap for today's recap of the movie Just a Breath Away. Hit the subscribe button to join the cool horror movie club and boast about your knowledge of the genre to become the star of the party.